Dr Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb, or just Dr Strangelove if you hate fun, is one of my favourite movies of all time, and one day I'd like to make a video breaking down the whole thing. But before I do that, I've got a lot to learn if I want to do this movie justice. So for now, I'll just make a quick video on my favourite character from the film, and one of my favourite fictional characters in general, Brigadier General Jack D. Ripper. General Ripper is a headstrong, patriotic xenophobe willing to do whatever it takes to protect his country from threats, whether or not those threats actually exist. As far as one-dimensional villains go, I'd say he's a pretty decent guy. He does have some minor personality flaws, like how in an attempt to kill 120 million people, he accidentally wiped out all life on Earth, but nobody's perfect. Okay, calling him one-dimensional is accurate but potentially misleading, as he isn't some mustache-twirling villain. His motivations stem from his personal beliefs, and he genuinely believes that what he's doing is for the greater good. It's just that his motivations are stupid, and so is he. In all but a few scenes, General Ripper acts serious and stoic, though his motivations are anything but. The reason he wants to cause the greatest genocide in human history is because he got tired during sex. And because he's a macho man, instead of accepting his own sexual shortcomings, he blames it on a great communist conspiracy to sap and impurify America's bodily fluids. So now I've explained who he is, let's go over the reasons I like him so much. 1. He's funny. 2. He's interesting. 3. He's played by Sterling Hayden. The first is pretty self-explanatory. The contrast between the ridiculousness of what he's saying and how serious he says it is pure comedy gold.
Mandrake, water is the source of all life. 7/10 of this Earth's surface is water. Why do you realize that 70% of you is water?
The second might be a bit confusing. If I think the character and their motivations are stupid, then what's so interesting about him? Well, because at least from the audience's point of view, he doesn't start out like that. General Ripper is a static character, but even though he doesn't change, the audience's perception of him does. In the beginning, the audience doesn't know anything about him. Through his mannerisms, he seems strict, but anyone in that position would act like that under the circumstances, so it doesn't tell us anything about him. Later, we're given information from two sources that contradicts what General Ripper said, making us apprehensive of him. This apprehension is then validated when he pulls out a gun on Mandrake, directly telling the audience that they're dangerous. But he also mentions bodily fluids, which is kind of odd.
All of our precious bodily fluids.
That phrase is also dropped in the next scene in the war room.
And in true health through the purity and essence of our natural fluids.
Which is bizarre, but given that he just pulled a gun on someone, he's still seen as threatening. Then in the next scene, he tries to humanize himself by dropping the stoicism, lowering himself to Mandrake level, and trying to be close with him, all so that he can explain his crackpot theory, which diffuses the tension and makes the audience see that really, he's just an idiot, which is cemented in the next scene where he reveals he came up with the theory during sex. Finally, my third reason is that he's played by Sterling Hayden, who is absolutely perfect for the role. His deep voice and giant height enhances the juxtaposition between his crazy lines and his cold and serious delivery, but at the same time he's still really imposing, partially because he's partnered up with the soft-spoken Mandrake played by the 5'6" Peter Sellers. It's also enhanced by the cinematography, as when he reveals his plan, the camera cuts from a wide shot to a low-angle close-up of his angry face, which feels far more intimate. Even in his final scene, after spouting the second most absurd thing you've heard today, not including what you read on Twitter, he's still threatening. If anything, his insanity makes him seem more dangerous, as that makes his actions less predictable. His last scene perfectly encapsulates the kind of person he was. The army had taken over his base, so he's getting mad at his soldiers for not dying in the line of duty, before unaliving himself to avoid having the recall code tortured out of him. But he does it in a way that makes it look like he was murdered by Mandrake, causing confusion and mistrust when a soldier comes into his office. Just as one final screw you.